on a Thursday night to discuss the day results of March Madness and talk a little bit about tonight's games and tomorrow's games. So obviously the big game today, Sweets was on this team's bandwagon 2 weeks ago before any brackets were announced. He predicted that a certain team would be a potential upset in round one. And then the other night, Tuesday, when we were discussing hoops, he followed it up again with predicting this team to win. And High Point played an outstanding game today and pulled it off. So, Sweets, give us your thoughts. I mean, you called it.
I
You're
will
100% right.
I will take my victory lap because I took some L's today too, and I normally get a lot more L's than wins. So no, listen, it was a fantastic game, great game planned by High Point. This is a senior and grad transfer led team. Um, everybody on their roster who contributed today, most of them are either seniors or grad transfers. And these guys are a team that shoots up a lot of threes as well. As a matter of fact, the kid who made the game-winning shot, I think his last name was Chase Johnston. That was the first 2-point bucket he made this whole season. So what a time for him to come through with a layup when the season's on the line, and he gets the pass out front and is able to beat the Wisconsin defender to the rack, got the layup, and then they were able to hold there at the end. Fantastic win. Going to be a great matchup against Arkansas, who won their game today. Arkansas, who we spoke of, led by Darius Acuff, who's one of the top, if not the best player in the country. He's one of the top three for sure. This is going to be a really good game too. I think Arkansas will be favored because they're the better team, more talented team. They got the best player on the floor in Acuff. However, don't count High Point out, as they showed today. These guys have played together for a little while, and know how to win, know how to play ball. They've won 30 games, 31 now with today's win. So these guys know how to win when the game's on the line, and you can't count that experience out, especially in tournament ball when you're one and done. There's that experience is invaluable, and once again they proved today, and they won't be the only team that does it. There'll be another team that probably does it tonight, and one or two that do it tomorrow too that nobody expected to win. But all these 24-year-old kids that you'd never heard of before all came together and were able to put it together to string a few wins together. So good for High Point, good for college basketball, and good for the NCAA tournament. It's going to be a lot more fun. Kev, thoughts?
Yeah, so they played really well. 6 turnovers, out rebounded Wisconsin, which Wisconsin's always known for a good inside team,
Yes.
and they always do well on the boards. And High Point out rebounded them 40-37. Now, granted, 3-point shots can sometimes have long rebounds, and again, 13-6 was what High Point was offensive rebound wise. But no, they were impressive. I mean, I got to say they were better than I thought they were going to be. Um, 15 out of 40 from three, 38%. That's like 55% from two. And again, only 6 turnovers. That's a quality way to win a game. And they did 83 points in a game. They have their recipe, and their recipe cooked it up today. That's for sure. A couple earlier games that also I liked South Florida today, and while they were competitive and right in the game, Louisville was able to fend them off and win 83-79. So that knocked my upset team for today out. So interesting game. They're competitive. They were better. Nebraska looked really good today on both ends of the floor and won by 29 over Troy. That game stood out to me. And then 2 other games, that I thought were interesting. TCU won by 2 over Ohio State in a game that either team could have won. TCU won the first half by double digits. Ohio State came back, had the game tied in the last 5 minutes. It was back and forth. TCU hit a bucket inside 10 seconds and got a win in a game that I think if they played it 10 times, like in my brackets, I would pick Ohio State one bracket, TCU in the next. So I think, that was going to be a competitive game, and it sure turned out to be. My surprise of the day outside of that High Point game, which High Point was the big game of the day so far, was Siena and Duke and how well Siena played against Duke. I really feel like Duke was fortunate to win. And if Siena would have had one or two bench players, they might have pulled that upset off. It makes me wonder where Duke is at. They won the ACC tournament, but they did not look as dominant through that. Won a lot of close games. And look, winning close games matters. And I know they're a little banged up, got a couple players, dinged up right now. And that may be, if they can just keep winning in advance, they might be stronger as they get to the Final Four. But it also makes me wonder, are they vulnerable in round 2 or 3? I don't know the answer to that, but they certainly looked vulnerable today. Anything else you got on the early games today?
I agree. I agree. Duke certainly did look vulnerable today, and that's they're led by a couple freshmen too, and that that happens at this time of year. These senior laden teams, we see it every year, just like High Point today. These teams give these younger teams a lot of trouble in one and done basketball. And that's what this time of year is. It's one and done basketball. So, look for more of that to happen. The big thing for me today with High Point and in Wisconsin was High Point. High Point had 6 steals and only 6 turnovers, so they negated every turnover they had by stealing the ball back. Wisconsin had 2 steals and 10 turnovers, so that difference of 8 turnovers right there was certainly, the difference in the ball game.
Absolutely.
That difference of 8 turnovers there certainly cost them the game. And a credit to High Point. They did it in every way possible. They were better coached. They outplayed them. Not the most talented team, but the better team today, and that's who won. The better team today. Where do you want to go
Yeah,
next?
and Wisconsin didn't play a bad game. High
No,
Point just played really well.
no, I mean, if they play this game 10 times, Wisconsin probably wins 7 of them. But this is a good High Point team. Like I said, these guys have won 31 games. You don't win 31 games, by not knowing how to win, and it showed at the end of the game. And it was kind of neat to see Chris Johnston score his lone 2-point bucket of the year to seal the game against Wisconsin today. So here we are in his, I think, 36th or 37th game of the year, and he is finally getting a 2-point bucket. He hasn't had a layup, short little jumper, a putback, nothing all year long that got him 2 points on one shot. He's got a metric shit ton of threes, got a ton of free throws. First 2-point bucket today. So congrats, Chase. It'll be one that he always remembers too.
35 games before you get your first 2-pointer.
Mm.
If someone the Henry Ibas of basketball are rolling over in their grave at the thought of that from perimeter shooting.
Lord.
Oh, so tonight we've got some interesting games. We've got just a couple that have started that are interesting to me. You have Texas BYU and Texas A&M St. Mary's. The contrast in style, like we talked about the other night, in A&M and St. Mary's, is interesting to me. And along those lines, A&M, in the first 5 minutes, already has 9 points. So if it stays that pace, I think it'll be hard for St. Mary's. That being said, I'd like to see how the next 10 minutes play out to see how that pace turns. And Texas and BYU is basically an even game, 15-12 in the first 5 minutes. I think that could be a very entertaining game. Your thoughts on any of these early games tonight?
Yeah, that BYU Texas game is going to be a great game with AJ DeBonch, one of the best players in the country. Again, like I said, that BYU team's a team that could get to a Final Four riding the coattails of their star players. So, or they could get bounced out tonight. It's the great thing about March Madness. Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yep.
There should be some really good games tonight, though. What was your updated score, Kev? Did you have any updated scores? I see UNC's up 39-28 at the half.
Yep.
On UNC.
Yep. And that's a game I thought might be close with Virginia Commonwealth. We'll see if the second half if they can make a move or not. But right now, Carolina's up 11. So they have a little bit of control of that game.
And St. Mary's is reportedly going to be without leading scorer Paulius Marasakis, Lithuania's finest there, against A&M tonight. So that's certainly going to hurt St. Mary's there, missing him. That's a big blow for St. Mary's.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you pronounced it, not me. No one can blame me for butchering it out. Um, so again, later tonight we've got Georgia and St. Louis, which I think could be one of the best games of the day in an 8-9 seed. St. Louis team that, I mean, until you got into late February, they only had like 2 losses, lost, 3 games over the last couple of weeks. So I'm interested to see how they come out and play against the Georgia team and Michael White, who's their coach. You know, Michael White's done a solid job at Georgia, got him in a tournament a couple of years, but they need a tournament win. Um, not a desperation thing, but to me, for their basketball program, it would be nice if Georgia could get a tournament win. So that's
Kev,
an interesting game.
Kev, I got some trivia. When was the last time that Georgia made it to the Sweet 16?
Ooh, man.
And I didn't know. I just heard it on the radio today, but it was interesting, and I was like, "Damn!" So,
So I remember one year they made it to the Final Four under Hugh Durham. I honestly don't remember making it to the Sweet 16 since then, and that would have been back like in the Terry Fair days. So we're talking a long time ago. It's surely not been that long, has it?
it's been a long, long time. It's actually 30 years ago. Tubby Smith got them to the Sweet 16
That's
against.
right.
They beat Clemson, and then they beat top seed Purdue. If you remember,
Yeah.
I actually, it was funny because when he said that, I was like, I don't remember that. And then the guy said, and then they upset Purdue, and I said, I do remember that game, yeah. And then Tubby leaves Georgia and goes and wins the title with Kentucky.
Kentucky, yep. I'd
So
forgot the Tubby Smith years, but Tubby did do a very good job at Georgia.
yeah,
He
they
did.
certainly would have been better off with if he'd have stayed. But when Kentucky, it'd be like if the Georgia football program called Kentucky's coach to coach them. You leave Kentucky football to go to Georgia. If Kentucky
Absolutely,
basketball calls
100%.
you leave Georgia to go to Kentucky. So that's a no brainer.
100%. And then we also have Kennesaw State with Antoine Petway, another ex-Alabama coach, tonight against Gonzaga. And again, that's another interesting game to me. Um, Kennesaw State's right here close to both of us, and they've had a successful year. Can they keep that game and make that tight? So to me, tonight, the 2 games I'm really interested in are Georgia, St. Louis, and Kennesaw and Gonzaga. Any thoughts on that Kennesaw and Gonzaga game?
Yeah, gosh, I just looked at the line. It's like 22 points. If I was a betting man, I would take Kennesaw in the 22 points. I don't think that Gonzaga. I mean, they're 30-3, but again, they've played their schedule to where they only play a few tough teams during the year, so it's not as impressive as it sounds. But it's a lot of points to give up. This Kennesaw State team can score the basketball, so I kind of like Kennesaw in 22 points tonight against Gonzaga. Kev,
I would certainly take 22 in Kennesaw.
that's that's a lot. Yeah,
Even if you get a backdoor cover and it's an 18 point game,
nothing,
yes,
nothing
I
wrong
think
with that.
Kennesaw. The way I look at it, Kennesaw is good offensively, and again, they play that dribble drive offense and they shoot and they can score. I think Kennesaw has a very good chance to get in the 70s. So if you can get in the 70s and you lose by 22, that means the other team's got to get in the mid 90s.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a lot of
I
points for
I would
them.
yes, I would take Kennesaw on that 20 points. I sure
Yeah.
would.
Uh, another
Michigan
game
and Howard are. Go ahead.
Another game I'm interested in is Illinois and Penn. Every year, you get the Ivy League team comes in and they just play smart, solid basketball, and they pick and roll you to death, and they backdoor cut you, and just every year. So I
Yes.
wonder if Penn won't be able to light a fire under Illinois like they do most years when they get in these things.
And you're right. A lot of times, and Illinois is an aggressive defensive team, and a lot of times those Ivy League teams will take an aggressive athletic defense and backdoor, and that makes it really tough. And the more aggressive that you play, the more desperate that you get. Those backdoor cuts will take you apart. And Penn's been a good team in that Ivy League this year, so that very well could be a very good, entertaining game. Again, it certainly would be a good game to watch. Um, at least the first half to see how it plays out, and if they're able to handle the ball and handle that pressure that Illinois tries to play with, it certainly could be entertaining. So another little, quick recap of kind of where the games are at now, and then we'll go to tomorrow. Michigan's up 6 on Howard. That's kind of interesting. 10 minutes in. BYU 21-20 in that Texas game. That looks like that's going to be a good game all the way throughout. Probably both teams getting the 80s. So that very well could be one of the best games of the day. A&M and St. Mary's. A&M started out with 9 the first 5 minutes. They've only scored 4 since then, so that pace is getting slowed down. They're about the 11-minute mark. It's 13-10. So that pace of that game is looking like it could end up in the 60s if it stays at that. And if it ends up in the 60s, I think it'll be a dogfight. So we go from there.
Another early game that we didn't talk about that I wanted to touch on was Michigan State. With Tom Izzo and his point guard fears. I've said it before. When Tom Izzo has a stud point guard leader like he has in Fears, his teams usually go far. So, it won't surprise me if Michigan State gets to the Final Four, or even won the whole thing. They certainly wouldn't be the favorite to win it all. But when he gets a stud point guard, boy, he certainly rides that horse all the way to the barn, and they usually end up, very successful with it.
Absolutely, and you're 100% right. They look good today, and I like the way you put that. Rides the horse all the way to the barn, and takes the saddle off, and we're good to go. So definitely, Michigan State's going to be a team to watch in the next few rounds. I'm with you. I think they're at least in the Elite Eight. I think Michigan State Duke could be a really good Elite Eight game. So we go from there. We go into tomorrow, and some early games tomorrow. We have Santa Clara, Kentucky, a 7-10 matchup. Santa Clara has some size, 26-8. Another early game tomorrow is Akron at 29-5. Good defensive team against Texas Tech. Virginia Wright State. Alabama, Hofstra at 3:15, and Aiden Holloway is suspended for this game. So that's some early games tomorrow.
Yeah.
Another interesting game it's a 4:00 game, midday. Tennessee and Miami of Ohio. Miami only has that one loss, and they did beat SMU by 10 last night. Tennessee will certainly be the more talented athletic team, but again, Miami's very well coached. Any thoughts on any of the early games tomorrow?
There should be some really good early games tomorrow. That Hofstra Bama game is Bama favored by 13.5. I don't know that they should be favored by 13.5 even with Holloway playing. 13.5 is a lot of points. This Hofstra ball club is not a bad club, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Hofstra won the game outright, much less covered the 13.5. So that's a little bit of a surprise there. Akron, Texas Tech, another 5-12 game where a lot of people have Akron getting the upset. Texas Tech, I beg your pardon, is missing their stud Toppin, who's averaging 22 and 11 a game. So that's certainly a game to watch if you're into upsets. Another one is Kentucky Santa Clara, 7-10 seed, so it's not really wouldn't be a huge upset. Kentucky's favored by 3.5. Again, a lot of people are picking Santa Clara with this one. Wouldn't be a big surprise. Kentucky. A lot of people are honestly surprised to see Kentucky with a 7 seed being seeded so high, because they just weren't that strong during the SEC season, and I think that their history got them this seed this year. And that's the way it goes sometimes. But Santa Clara's in a good spot to go ahead and beat them. And it wouldn't be a big surprise for me to see that happen. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think you're right. Those two games that I really want to watch in the early ones are the Akron Tech game, and I do think Akron's going to pull that upset off. Tech's very well coached though, and so they could win the game, but it'll be very tight. But I like Akron just really due to Toppett's injury, and then I like Santa Clara. My bracket I picked Kentucky, but Santa Clara might pull this game out. They're 26-8, and when you look at the last 2 months, they've been really, really good. Beat St. Mary's on the road in the last month of the season. This Santa Clara team has gotten better throughout the year, and I think, I guess when I look at Kentucky and their $22 million roster and how they went out early in the SEC tournament, I don't see that team as a team that comes into this tournament with a lot of passion of we're going to go out here and win this tournament. To me, they've been a team that's went through the motions during the year. They have won some big games, and they may play well and win this one. Like we've all said, I don't think they go very far. But you're going to play a team that's hungry to beat you tomorrow. And if you don't bring it, you're going to get beat. So I think I really like Santa Clara to pull this upset off. And again, Vegas Kentucky's only a 3.5-point favorite. Vegas thinks Santa Clara has a good chance too. So I think that's your two best early games. And then out of the other games, early. Go ahead.
Hey, one more. Utah State Villanova should be a really good game. I think Villanova is favored by a point or two there, but I picked Utah State. Utah State's got a good basketball program, always solid, good fundamental basketball. I was there. I think they win the game tomorrow. That's speaking of, where's that game being played at? Do you recall?
It is. Let's see. It is a West Region game. I don't know if it's in Portland, but I'm with you in that. I like Utah State, and it's going to be one of the best games. Viejas Arena. I don't think that's Portland. San Diego. Okay. We're playing that game in San Diego. So shorter trip for Utah. I don't know if they'll have many that show up. They may though, because that program is good in basketball, so they do have a good following in basketball. I don't expect many people to make the trip from Pennsylvania to support Villanova out there though. So that's going to be, to me, when I looked at the 8-9 matchups at the beginning of the tournament, Utah State, Villanova, and TCU, and Ohio State today, to me, those were the best 8-9 games. And I think Utah State, Villanova will be every bit what TCU was today. So I like that game too. And then, like I said, I really like this Miami, Ohio, Tennessee game. I think Rick Barnes wins the game, but I think it could be an entertaining game in those early games. But you got some really good early games tomorrow. Yeah. You got, again, if you look at Kentucky, Santa Clara, Akron Tech, Tennessee. We got Tennessee and Miami, Ohio, Utah State, Villanova, Hofstra, and Alabama. That's 5 good early games tomorrow.
Lots of good games in the evening too. They kick off at 6:50 with Clemson and Iowa, a good 8-9 matchup. St. John's in Northern Iowa. St. John's, like I said, they come in at one of the hotter teams in the country. Have only lost one game since New Year, so they've been playing really good ball under Pitino. Let's see, UCLA, UCF, another good game, and then the late game, Miami, Mizzou, might end up being the best game of the day. That's a game
absolutely
that Miami's favored in, but they're favored by a point, and that's there's a reason why they really like that matchup to be a close one. So Miami plays.
Yes,
really,
and again,
they could cause Mizzou.
Yeah, and that's a game. Jay Lucas, in his first year at Miami, was at Duke before that as the lead assistant. There's a lot of people that think Miami might make a run in this thing. And so to your point, that game tomorrow night with Missouri will be very interesting to see how they play. Do they get off to a good start, have a good game, and feel confident as they roll into round 2 and 3 if they're able to pull that one off tomorrow and maybe make it to the Elite Eight. There are some people – I think DMAC has picked them in the Elite Eight. And I like them to have a chance to get an upset in round two. So
One
that
thing
game
going
is
against they
interesting.
are playing in St. Louis though, so kind of a home game for Mizzou, playing in St. Louis there.
It is, and Missouri has a big following in hoops. Um,
Yeah,
Missouri's been a good.
this isn't
Go
baseball or
ahead.
football. They do have a following in
Yeah.
basketball. You're right about that.
Yeah, going back to the Norm Stewart days and the Antlers at Missouri, was their student section. Um, they like their basketball, and they've been good at it over the years. You had Norm Stewart, Mike Anderson had success there. They've had a lot of success in basketball in Missouri. So it will be a very tough game, and Miami, even though they're the higher seed playing in St. Louis, it's a very tough matchup for them in the first round game. UCF at UCLA could be a good game. UCLA's played really well late, so that could be interesting. And then, like you said, St. John's, I really like them to win and play well. 9.5 point favorite. If I was going to play that game, I would give St. John's in the double digits to win there because they've been really well. They played really well. Iowa Clemson, again, to me, that's a toss up. And another really 8-9 game that you could take whoever. The Big Ten lost the 8-9 game today. Tomorrow it's the ACC, not the Big 12. Um, but again, I like Clemson in that game. But again, I would not be surprised if Iowa won. Any more thoughts about tomorrow and maybe some of those night games? You do have Purdue playing at night, which I expect them to roll.
Yeah, I don't see any Siena Duke type games tomorrow that where a one or a 15 or a 16 takes the game to the wire. I don't think that'll happen tomorrow. I think that UConn, with Hurley, they've won a couple national championships, so he knows how to get those kids prepared for this tournament. Florida against Prairie View, again, Golden. He won it last year. He knows what he's doing there. Arizona against Long Island. These are teams that like Duke should have handled their business, but I don't anticipate any trouble for them. But I am very interested in seeing how Miami looks tomorrow night. Both Miami of Ohio and the U as well. That Miami of Ohio Tennessee game could they won 33, 34 basketball games this year, so they know how to win.
Yeah, they're 32-1. So
Yeah.
you're not. You can win if you're that. They can certainly win that game.
Yeah, just like High Point today, they know how to win, and you can't discount this time of year how valuable that trade is. Having been through the fire and knowing how to dig deep in that last few minutes to get a win is it's a hell of a trait to have this time of season. So um, should be
And
some good games.
and that trait matters. Winning matters. Knowing
Yeah,
how to win absolutely matters. If anybody
yeah,
thinks that it's not important, that no, it absolutely is.
yeah. You're
You take
exactly right.
a group of guys that know how to win, they will get it done.
Yep. And veteran leadership, teams that have played together and been through together. This is the one time a year when that really shows itself. And that's why you always have these upsets of teams like High Point, who nobody thought of, but here they are, and they're moving on, and a Big Ten team is in the highway bracket. So, and it wouldn't
One thing
surprise.
to look for in that Purdue. Go ahead.
I was going to say it wouldn't surprise me if they beat Arkansas either. I mean, they're a good team. I
They
don't think
are.
they will, because I think that Acuff is just going to be too much for them. But it wouldn't surprise me at all. I wonder. I'm gonna take a look. Go ahead and see what you got, Kev. I'm gonna get the line of that game.
So one thing I like to watch for tomorrow night, there is one reason to turn the Purdue game on with Queens. But if you turn it on, make sure you watch the beginning of the game, watch the first 5 to 7 minutes of the game. Braden Smith, their senior outstanding point guard of Purdue, needs one assist to tie the NCAA assist record that Bobby Hurley set back for Duke. So that's a monumental accomplishment. I mean, you think about Bobby Hurley, who played 4 years, started from a freshman to a senior year. Braden Smith's done the same thing. So for Braden Smith to break that record, it's going to be a long time for someone to break his. Just like, we're talking. So Hurley played in the '90s,
Yep.
early '90s,
Yep. Like
93. So 30
94.
some, 30 some years
Yep.
to break that record. It'll be the same because number one, you're not going to break it unless you play 4 years, and very few good players play 4 years anymore. So he's 1 assist from tying it, 2 assists to break the record. So I would say within the first 10 minutes, you can see that tomorrow, and that's a big accomplishment. So that's a reason to turn that game on to watch. See
Um,
how long it takes.
is,
Go ahead.
is he a COVID player? Is this one of
No,
those?
he's straight 4 years.
Oh, see that. Then you know what? Then hats off to the kid. If you were going to tell me, he's a 24-year-old who's in his like sixth or seventh season, then I was going to say, for me that kind of taints it a little bit. It's still neat, but it isn't. It's just not the same. You can't.
Absolutely.
You cannot take something that was done in 4 years and somebody does a little bit better in 7 and say that it's the same thing. It wasn't. It's kind
Yeah,
of
or even five.
with scoring in college. With Pete Maravich, and one, he didn't get to play when he was a freshman. Two, no 3-point line. I mean, and I think we've all seen the things that go back and say he would have averaged, I think, 57 a game if they'd have had 3-pointers back then. So yeah, it's good for this Smith kid though. And I'll tell you what, I watched him play the other day against Michigan, and he he took over that game when Purdue needed him to, and he did a hell of a job. So hats off to him, but well deserved.
In very similar careers as Bobby Hurley. Bobby Hurley won a national championship when he was young. Freshman and sophomore year, he won a national championship. Actually, won two. I believe it was Smith's sophomore year when Purdue was there. So similar careers. And I would bet you if you were to ask Bobby Hurley, what type of player would you want to break your record if anybody were to break it? Nobody wants their record broke. He would say a guy that's a leader, that's committed to the team, and those things, which is Smith. To me, their careers parallel each other. Both really outstanding leaders, team first, point guards that can score, but put the team first. And again, 1,075 assists for Smith, 1,076 for Hurley. I mean, that's a lot of assists. That's 250 assists a year, 260, 270 assists a year. You break that by 32 games. Teams play a little more than that, but just sort of say 32 games. That's 8.4 assists a game for a 4-year period. If you play 32, let's say if you play 35, divided by 35. Well, that's not right. 35. That's still right at 8 assists a game. So, outstanding. It'll be a long time.
Yep.
30 some odd years before it was broken, and it'll be at least 30 or 40 more before it's broken again.
Good for him. Good for him. Kev, that line I was looking for, Arkansas is a 12-point favorite tomorrow or Saturday against High Point. 12 points. So that would be another one. If I were a betting man, I would consider looking at that. That's again though, 12 points isn't much when you've got somebody like Acuff on your team. He could run away with it.
I like Arkansas, and I like Arizona to beat Arkansas when they get to the Sweet 16. That being said, I don't know that I like Arkansas to beat them by double digits because Arkansas is not a great defensive team. So I think Arkansas will beat High Point. But if you were going to make me place a bet on this game, give me the 12 because I could certainly see this being a 6 or 8 point game.
Yeah.
High Point's going to score their points. and so I think it'll be a really good game. Look, High Point's for real again. They didn't just, I mean, they beat Wisconsin in a really well played game, and I think to me that's more credit to the High Point piece. You didn't beat Wisconsin when they played an off game. You beat Wisconsin when they played good. So I don't expect them to come out against Arkansas. You know, you referenced teams that know how to win, experience. They're going to come into that game to win that game. They didn't bat an eye today, and they're not going to tomorrow or Saturday when they play Saturday. They're going to go in there with full confidence. They have nothing to lose. You know, they're
We
coming
have
to win.
an updated score. North Carolina's up 19 on ECU. So they're for those who thought that was an 11-6 upset, doesn't look like that one's going to happen tonight for those cheering for the Commonwealth. A lot of,
Certainly
lot,
not.
lot of Yankees up there cheering for the Commonwealth.
A&M's 23-22 with 5 to go. So again, the pace of that game is definitely tightened down. Um, that game will be in the 60s unless something happens in that second half to go crazy. And if it's in the 60s, I like St. Mary's chances to win. Um, just one short point again about Wisconsin and High Point. Wisconsin shot 48% today. In college basketball, as many threes as they shoot, if you shoot 48% from the field, you usually win. So again, I definitely think High Point, Arkansas will be a good game. Arkansas, I think, wins the game, but give me Arkansas by like a 6 to 8 point win. I would take the 12 points.
I agree. And there's let's see, Texas is up 4 on BYU late in the first half there. Lots of great games. Howard hanging around. They're down 8 to Michigan just before the half, 50 to
Yeah.
42. So a little closer than most thought.
Yep. Very offensive scoring on both sides. So that'll be an entertaining game to watch, just like this. You know, this Texas BYU game is likely to be both teams are going to score 40 in the first half. So that'll be an entertaining game in the second half. Well, any closing thoughts on anything today, tomorrow? You want to give us one game tomorrow? Look, you pull the upset today. You got the one. Give us your upset special tomorrow.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You lead us off with your upset tomorrow, and let me take a quick peek, and I'll tell you who I've got tomorrow.
Well, I'm gonna again. I could be wrong, and this team could lose by double digits because Kentucky's talented and they may come out and play well. But give me Santa Clara. I just don't think this Kentucky team is taking this. I just again 22 million. I think um, they're kind of an entitled team. I don't think they're hungry. I think it's been a very frustrating year for Mark Pope. I think Santa Clara is going to come out, take it to them with full confidence that they can win this game. The fact that St. Mary's is playing A&M a really good game gives me only more confidence in Santa Clara because Santa Clara won at St. Mary's 2 weeks ago. So give me Santa Clara tomorrow to upset Kentucky, and the Wildcat faithful will be upset to say the least.
Yes, they will. Tomorrow, give me the Zips from Akron to beat Texas Tech with topping out, missing your top scorer and rebounder. The NCAA tournament isn't the time that you wanna lose your stud player. So give me Akron. They're 8.5 point dogs. Give me Akron straight up to sneak out the W against the Red Raiders. This is a Red Raider team that was in the championship game not that long ago, huh?
Yes.
A few years ago against
Chris Beard 7-8 years ago in that Virginia game, and
yeah,
honestly should have won. Virginia had to hit a 3 at the end to send it in the overtime on an offensive rebound that got kicked back out. Tough loss for Tech that night. And, again, good team.
I remember that.
Go ahead.
I remember that. Hell of a game.
It was. If Toppet was there, I think this Tech team would make a run this year. I really do. I think they're well coached, and I think they're talented enough to make a run. And look, they have beaten Houston and Arizona this year. Now, granted, they had Toppin when they did it, but again, that just goes to prove the kind of capability that they have. And they also did beat Iowa State at Ames without Toppin. I still don't know how they did that, but they did.
Yeah.
So they're capable, but unlike you, I like Akron.
I think they beat BYU as well.
Yes.
If I'm remembering
Yes,
correctly. Yeah,
they've got some good wins.
Without Toppin, that's that's a tall order. And like I said, it's not like Akron is the bum of the month club. These guys won a lot of basketball games this year, and a quality team. So
one of your better defensive teams in the country.
Yeah, that's the thing about this time of year is these teams that are 13, 12s and 13s really. 14s it doesn't happen as often, but 12s and 13s have a pretty decent success rate considering you'd think it would be a larger a win percentage for the higher seeds, but 12s and 13s do surprisingly well against 4s and 5s, and had one today, and there'll probably be another one or two tonight and tomorrow. So it holds true. There's when they see these teams and they do the best they can. They do a disservice to a lot of these mid majors because they just don't know how to, and it's impossible to do. I'm not throwing stones at the NCAA. I'm just saying that it happens every year, and you get these senior laden teams that have played together for a while, and never fails that they come in and surprise a lot of people and sneak a win or two. Hope we get to see it again. I would love to see an Akron or even a higher seed, a Wright State, a Hofstra, a Queens over Purdue. Purdue is a team that I could see them getting upset by by a higher seed. You knew where I was going with it. I could see them getting upset by a higher seed. I don't know. Painter just boy.
It's happened. They've lost as a 2 seed. They were the first number 1 seed to lose to a 16.
Purdue was? I thought Virginia was.
Yes, Purdue. No, you're right. It was Virginia was the first. That's right. That is right.
I thought Virginia lost to like Baltimore Community College or something like that. And
that's right.
Remember, that was awesome.
But Purdue has lost as a high seed a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
In the tournament.
Yeah,
so it's certainly it would not surprise, or it should not surprise.
Yeah.
I would pick Purdue, but it should not surprise anyone if they were to lose that.
Another thing on the injury front for Texas Tech, I just read that Christian Anderson is going to be limited by a groin injury tomorrow too. So, the hits just keep on coming for Red Raider fans. I said you might win the game still tomorrow, missing 2 of your better players, but it's going to be tough to go too far. Missing 2 starters, and one is one of the better players in the country. In Toppin, so. Something to watch there. Like I said, and the Akron pick over Texas Tech is very trendy right now. That's a lot of people's go-to for the 12-5 upset there.
It was, or it is. Akron and South Florida probably were the 2 most picked upsets in this tournament, and I certainly bought into the South Florida hype. They didn't embarrass themselves. It was a tight game, but they weren't able to pull it off for that piece. So, well, if that's it, appreciate everybody listening. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. Keep following us for the NCAA basketball tournament, March Madness. Also, we will have some episodes here also to talk about SEC baseball, just like we always do. Series are starting tonight. So we'll have some stuff on that this weekend, as we also pop back on here a couple times this weekend to talk about the tournament and give quick rundowns and that piece. Any final words, Sweets?
No, sir. No, sir. Thanks for joining us this evening. Hope to see you Saturday or Sunday whenever we come back. We'll be here for sure on Sunday, but we may put something together on Saturday too, depending on time and just how much fun these games are having to create us get on here and have something to say. So look forward to seeing you then soon. Thank you very much.